Pell at Harold Washington and Wilbur Wright Colleges. In this video, I'm just going to show you how to retrieve the feedback that you received on different types of assignments, quizzes, discussions, assignments, and peer mark. So let's start with quizzes. For quizzes, you can retrieve them a couple of different ways. The first way is you could actually go to the assessments and go to quizzes. And then over here in an evaluation status, it says feedback. If you haven't seen it, it says unread. In this case, this is like the instructor went through and gave feedback in the gradebook after the quiz was submitted. So if we click on that, if you come down here, see the comments, it says feedback, 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 tells you how much your score and that sort of thing. If you click on attempt, that would give you, show you the feedback. However, if your instructor showed you the things you got right, or maybe the instructor showed you the things that you got wrong. So it would give you the whole quiz list in that way. Okay. Another way let's just go through the tools first, and then we'll go to grades and see how you can see your feedback there. So when we go to assignments, you can see each assignment is here. It tells you the type of assignment, and then your feedback is here. If you click on unread, that gives you the overall, and then if there's a rubric, you can scroll down and see that, and you can see that there's feedback underneath each area depending on your instructor. Okay. With discussions, we'll look at that through the grades portal. So let's go to grades now and see what that looks like. So you'll notice here there's some general feedback, and then in this case, there's some grade mark feedback in Turnitin. So if you were to click on that, another window would pop up in the feedback studio. And you can see there's different types of bubbles here. If you click on them, you can mouse over and see what they say. Some things are highlighted. If there was a rubric, there'd be like a little way that you can see that here. In this case, there's not, since it's the testing ground. If you ever see these purple bubbles, they look like this, but they're purple. That's the ETS, which is sort of a fancy version of spell check that flags through Turnitin. A lot of times those are incorrect, so take that feedback with a grain of salt. And then this is your similarity report here. This is a fake paper, so there's no similarity. Okay, you can also view the graded rubric here. And again, you see there's feedback there. I know I often leave feedback in the rubric, so I expect you to take a look there. And then there's other inline feedback. So your instructor can leave inline feedback on your paper in Brightspace rather than Turnitin. And so that will also load in another window. And may look something like this, where there's typing on it, maybe something's highlighted, maybe something's written on it. I use all kinds of different feedback. Okay. So that's, and you see when there's a rubric that's graded, it's always highlighted there. And then where we can't get your feedback directly is peer mark. So for peer mark, the rule is that you should always go back to where you submitted your work originally to get your feedback. So we're going to go to content, and we are already in peer mark because that's the last place I was. And so click where you submitted it. Now, a couple of things. Right here where you see the grade, that's where you're going to get the feedback studio and where you would get feedback from your instructor. Okay. You see things are highlighted, looks just like grade mark that we just talked about. You can highlight over the bubbles. if this was enabled, you would be able to see these ETS grammar checkers. Since I'm using a fake language just for the testing purposes, that's not showing up. You see the overall comment, and then here we could view the rubric, and that would show you how your activity was scored. Now, if you want to get your peer reviews, you go up here to peer mark reviews. See how that little red light is flashing? And then you would come over here to received feedback. And then you would come over here. Your peers can mark up your paper if they wanted to. In this case, they didn't. And you'll see what your scores are here, the feedback you received, and then down here you see the feedback here. And using these arrows, you can move between feedback that you've received. So that's it for this short video about how to review your feedback in Brightspace, Turnitin, and PeerMark. Thanks so much. Let me know if you have any questions.